Yeah.
Hello guys, welcome back to the next movie review on this channel. And this one, I know it's been taking a while for me to get to this, but I've been very busy and it wasn't as much of a priority for me anymore after hearing the reviews about it, which we'll get into. And of course I'm talking about Olivia Wilde's Don't Worry Darling, starring Florence Pugh, Harry Styles, Olivia Wilde, Gemma Chan, Kiki Layne, Nick Kroll, and Chris Pine. Now, there was a lot of hype going into this movie before we heard about everything else attached to it, because obviously Booksmart was one of my favorite movies of 2019, which I actually did review on the channel, one of my first videos. Loved that film. And so, of course, I was naturally excited to see what Olivia Wilde would do next with how much of a success Booksmart was. And then you started to hear all the controversies come about, which I won't necessarily get into in this episode. You can look that up yourself, but obviously I'm here to talk about the movie because you got to strip that away and just look at the film itself. Did Olivia Wilde set out and make a great movie, the movie that she wanted to tell, the story she wanted to make? Well, maybe she did, but when it comes to the audience liking it, I don't know, but we're going to talk about that. And first thing I want to talk about is what I loved about this movie. I think the production design is just incredible, so compact, so immaculate, really gets that idyllic sense of 1950s suburbia kind of captured through, I think it's safe to say without, really spoiling it too much, a dystopian lens. And of course, I mean, it's just so incredible, and I think we'll get a nomination for Best Production Design, as it absolutely should. Just phenomenal what they did there. And of course, I think Florence Pugh, once again, amazing. And really carries this movie on her back. I mean, literally everything Florence Pugh is in, even if it's like little lackluster, she always is incredible in it. So you shouldn't have doubted her for a second. One of the better performances I've seen this year for sure. I also really love Chris Pine, too. He's definitely one of the other standouts in the film, and just kind of like the tension between him and Florence Pugh's characters is so great to watch. But I really do love Olivia Wilde's direction in this. She does so many interesting things visually that are so intriguing on so many levels, and I think definitely set this film apart in that aspect compared to some other psychological thrillers out there. And I really do think the editing just moves at a clip. It's incredibly well cut. Some really great match cuts, some really great metric editing. I think that there's a lot to admire when it comes to the filmmaking in this film. Now, well, this is the thing. I know a lot of people have said the script is absolute dog doo-doo, and honestly, I can see what they mean, but sometimes they say, and maybe it's the other way around, but bear with me here, sometimes it's just about the ride as opposed to the actual destination. And I think leading up to that point, I was just absolutely riveted for a lot of this movie just because of how well Olivia Wilde sets up the mystery of this place. And I think most people going into this movie are going to be able to figure out what it is from the trailers. And I think that's why a lot of people are disappointed with this movie. And I can understand it. Like, it isn't the most mind-blowing twist you'll ever hear. And I think once you do realize what the twist is, it brings so many other things into question that absolutely make no sense at all. Like, literally at all. And I think that's probably the biggest issue I have, because watching it, I was like, oh, this is like really intense. This is really great, the way they're building this, the tension and the climax of this movie. But it is very rushed, inevitably, and I think falls a little bit flat. Now, another thing a lot of people have been sacking on when it comes to this movie is Harry Styles. And of course, whether he spit on Chris Pine or not, I'll leave that up to you. I think he did. Regardless, the point is he's been kind of like getting a lot of acting roles, kind of making that transition from a pop star to a serious actor. And some people are saying he's absolutely terrible in this movie, and I couldn't disagree more. I think he's quite good in it. He definitely has this charm to him and natural screen presence that I think is very effective. But he's certainly not great either. I don't think he's going to win a Razzie Award, but there's a couple scenes where he really has to emote in this movie, and I was almost laughing. They were not good, but alas, I don't think he completely derails this movie. Like, he certainly isn't worse than Tom Hanks and Elvis, I'll tell you that much. And that's Tom Hanks we're talking about. But he does a fine job. It is what it is. And I think his character is interesting enough. But really, you watch this movie for Florence Pugh and her performance, which is just incredible how much she delivered, and it just shows how much of a professional she is, especially with all the alleged drama going on in set. She really did give her all to a film that I guess in a lot of ways comes up a little underwhelming and undercooked, really, because there are a lot of great ideas in this movie that I think could have been executed a whole lot better, even though I was enjoying the whole movie while I was watching it. And with that in mind, I think I'm just going to give this movie a 7 out of 10, because I really did, as I said, I enjoyed watching it, and it certainly is intriguing enough to keep you moving along. I think the filmmaking itself is really, really cool, even though a lot of the script doesn't really make that much sense. It's still worthy to check out. Obviously, if you want to support Olivia Wilde and whatever, I mean, that's up to you. But I think there's a lot of great work put into this film, and I think you should check it out just for that. But if you have seen it, what did you think about Don't Worry, Darling? Let me know in the comments below. Did you love Booksmart and were insanely disappointed by this? I would really love to hear your thoughts on that. And of course, if you like what I'm doing here, please smash that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. I'm going to keep delivering some quality content down the road. And if you're just joining in for the first time, the top 90 albums of the 90s series I'm doing with Johnny Radio is coming up very soon. The deadline is going to be for the list to turn in. It's going to be October 20th. You have just over a week, so please get those in if you are planning on doing that. Of course, we are about to wrap up the top 80 albums of the 80s, which is going to be the last episode on his channel. We have a special guest, of course, as always, for these final episodes, and I can't wait for you guys to see that. So until then, take it easy, and I'll see you in the next video.